Prince Harry has such a cheek that he is now piling the pressure on Catherine, the Princess of Wales, to step in and try and save his failing relationship with Prince William, not understanding that it's over, brother. It is gone.
The issue that always concerned Prince Harry, that he would be overshadowed by his brother's children, is coming to effect because George is looking every inch a very handsome young man.
He'll just go on feeling sort of jealous of George, which is not very nice at all anyway, is it? It's horrible to be jealous of a young child who's full of being brought up very, very well and enjoying life.
Meghan Markle and Harry have been evicted. And judging by recent events, they're handling it with all the dignity of Meghan pushing Dr. Sophie Chandorka aside at the charity polo match.
Number anymore. That is, of course, a mortifying revelation for the Duke of Delusion, especially given Wakeford goes on to say that even if he did, Prince William would not pick up.
What's going down now with Harry is hitting a level that a lot of people are calling way out of line, and it's getting louder by the day. He's reportedly moving through back channels, trying to push Catherine, the same woman he's had years of tension with, into stepping in and cleaning up a mess that isn't hers to fix. And that alone is raising serious eyebrows everywhere. Let's break this down real clear, because this isn't just casual talk. This is strategic pressure behind the scenes. According to Dan Wakeford, former editor of People magazine and US Weekly, Harry hasn't been direct. He's been working quietly through intermediaries and trusted sources, trying to put emotional and social pressure on Catherine to intervene on his behalf. What he wants is simple on the surface but heavy in reality. He wants Catherine to step into the middle and talk to William.
Again, is piling the pressure on Catherine, who really has done nothing wrong during all of this and found herself completely unfairly attacked. And this idea that in some way it's her responsibility to sort this situation out, I just don't really feel it is. It's interesting to me because remember, for a long time, we've spoken about this before, he was the editor of People magazine and Us Weekly, which operated as a propagandist effectively for Harry and Meghan. These days, he tries to take both sides of the argument. Prince Harry has such a cheek that he is now piling the pressure on Catherine, the Princess of Wales, to step in and try and save his failing relationship with Prince William, not understanding that it's over, brother. It is gone. Finito. Just accept it.
To soften him, to reopen a door that Harry himself helped shut years ago. No apology, no direct call, no face-to-face accountability, just Catherine doing the heavy lifting while he stays in the background pushing the situation forward. Now think about that for a second, because it's not small at all. Catherine has been the one trying to keep peace for years, stuck in the middle of a royal conflict that never really cooled down. She was seen as the calm bridge between two brothers who drifted apart. And sources say she was one of the last people still holding on to hope that reconciliation was possible, always trying to keep balance in a family full of pressure and expectation. She stepped into situations nobody asked her to step into, trying to act as emotional glue between them because she believed the brothers should stay connected no matter what. That kind of role isn't easy, and it put her in the center of tension more than once.
The only person capable of moving him past it. The only person who has the ability to always get through to William is Kate, a source tells Celebrity Intelligence. But it's unclear whether she really wants him to. She feels as a mother that the two brothers should have a relationship. But her personal feelings for Harry are conflicted. Now, the royal author Christopher Anderson, who I don't think is a credible source, I'm just going to be honest about that, but Dan Wakeford is quoting him, saying that in his new book, he reported that Kate was the last senior royal to hold out hope for a reconciliation. A second insider who knows Harry direct is direct about his consequences. He regrets certain accusations he made because they made mending things with his brother quite literally impossible. Spare exposed enough family betrayals to keep the British press occupied for years. Harry accusing William of physically attacking him during a 2019 argument over Meghan mocking William's hair loss, characterizing their brotherly appearances at William's wedding as a PR exercise.
Even when she wasn't the cause of it. But look at what came back her way, and this is where things get heavy. Harry allowed situations where his wife publicly claimed Catherine made her cry during royal tensions, something that was widely disputed by multiple sources who said the story didn't match reality at all. He also stood by while online attacks from the Sussex supporter base targeted Catherine during one of the most difficult health battles of her life, adding even more stress to an already intense situation. On top of that, Harry's memoir, Spare, included private details that kept the spotlight burning, and he didn't stop the fallout when Omid Scobie's book made claims involving Catherine in a highly controversial allegation about Archie's skin colour question.
He reported that Kate was the last senior royal to hold out hope for a reconciliation, but that Harry's public comments about King Charles's cancer diagnosis were her final straw. Wakeford writes, the picture that emerges is of a family in which the most emotionally generous member finally ran out of patience, and the most instinctively decisive member had already drawn his lines. He wrote about Kate that has proved the most enduring damage. A palace source is unambiguous. William was fuming, but was particularly upset about what Harry said about Kate. He is fiercely protective of her and will find it hard to ever get over it and have a proper relationship with his brother again. Which makes Kate, according to Wakeford, the most complicated figure in this entire equation.
A claim so explosive, it led to major backlash and even pulled editions off shelves. That situation alone created global headlines and added fuel to an already burning fire. Through all of this, Catherine stayed under pressure, while public narratives kept shifting and intensifying. And now reports say Christopher Anderson's book confirms what many had already suspected, building behind the scenes. Catherine is done stepping into the middle of this conflict, and the moment she reached that point wasn't even triggered by a direct confrontation with Harry himself, which makes it even more telling. It reportedly came after a BBC interview where Harry spoke about King Charles's health and said, "I don't know how much longer my father has," while both Charles and Catherine were dealing with serious health struggles at the same time. That comment hit differently for her, especially with everything already happening around them, and it sparked a major emotional shift behind palace doors. That was the moment things snapped into place. No dramatic announcement, no confrontation, just a clear internal decision that enough was enough.
And perhaps the only really annoying thing that is semi-new in this is that you are correct, that Harry is once again going through back channels, putting the onus on someone else to kind of make the overtures. It's the same thing he did with King Charles a couple months ago when he let it be known through a source, wink, friend, wink, that he would be happy to accept an invitation to Sandringham, but of course, he would only go if his wife and kids were there, and that.
Oh yeah, and if there's full security paid for by people like me.
Harry's wish list, like, oh God, maybe Catherine can get through to my brother. Catherine, can you do this? And doing it through sources, friends, whatnot. I call baloney on it. It's just really Harry stamping his feet and playing wish list again. It's absolutely obnoxious. Not to mention, here's the deal. We all know people who have had cancer or who may not be here anymore because of cancer. And we also know their number one enemy is stress.
Yes.
So why would you invite?
And she stepped away from trying to fix what wasn't working anymore. Palace insiders didn't soften it either, making it clear the decision was final and emotionally firm. William's reaction to everything involving Harry and Catherine has been described as deeply intense, especially when it comes to anything involving Spare. One palace source said he was furious about how Catherine was portrayed, and he has always been extremely protective of her in every situation, making it hard for him to move past the damage that was already done. And here's where it gets even more personal and serious. Reports suggest William believes the ongoing stress from all of this may have played a role in Catherine's health struggles, which makes every new development feel even more sensitive and charged emotionally. So when Harry tries to push Catherine back into the middle of mediation efforts, it doesn't land lightly at all. William doesn't see it as just a request. He sees it as reckless pressure, something that risks reopening emotional strain that the family is trying to protect her from. And this isn't a one-time pattern either. It keeps repeating in different forms. Harry has reportedly done similar things before, including situations involving King Charles, where he was said to be open to invitations under strict conditions. Meghan and the children must be included, full security covered by taxpayers, and even control over guest list approval. That kind of conditional approach has created frustration behind palace doors because it always feels like negotiation instead of reconciliation. It's always framed with demands, conditions, and expectations, while others are left to handle the emotional and logistical burden. Meanwhile, Harry remains at the center of the request but not the execution, creating a constant cycle of tension and pushback. At this point, Catherine's response has been total silence. No engagement, no public comment, nothing at all. And that silence speaks louder than anything else because it signals a complete emotional and strategic step back from the situation. But the bigger issue for Harry isn't even just Catherine stepping away, it's what's happening with the next generation. There's someone younger in the royal circle who is rapidly gaining attention and changing public focus in a major way, even without trying. He's heading into secondary school this September, growing into a confident young figure who already carries himself with a presence people are noticing more and more. The public attention around him is growing fast, and many describe him as having the natural energy of someone who could easily step into a future leadership role. And according to Morton, Harry is watching all of this unfold, not with excitement, but with something much heavier and more uneasy, closer to dread than pride, as the spotlight slowly shifts in a direction he didn't expect. What's coming out next hits even deeper when you connect the dots, because this isn't just recent chatter. It goes way back to something Harry himself reportedly said years ago, and it changes how people are reading the whole situation now. The real turning point in this part of the story comes from someone who's spent serious time around Harry personally, not just observing from a distance, and that's Angela Levin. She worked closely with him while researching and writing her biography, sitting down in private conversations where he reportedly opened up in ways most people never saw. And in her book, Right on Page 2, she reveals a statement Harry allegedly made back in 2017 that's now resurfacing with a lot of weight attached to it. According to Levin, Harry's exact words were, "I want to make something of my life. I feel there is just a small window when people are interested in me before Prince George takes over, and I've got to make the most of it." That quote alone is what people keep going back to, because it shows awareness of timing, visibility, and opportunity at a very early stage. He reportedly said this around 10 years ago, when Prince George was only 3 years old, just starting life, with no idea of the public role waiting ahead. At that moment, Harry had what looked like an entire open runway in front of him, a full decade stretching ahead, packed with royal duties, global attention, charity work, institutional support, travel, influence, and access that most people could never even imagine having. Everything was lined up for him to build something long-lasting and meaningful within the royal framework. But as the narrative now goes, he knew the clock was ticking even back then, and he allegedly acknowledged it himself. And people are now asking what came of that awareness, what direction things actually went in once the years started passing by. Instead of building a long-term legacy, critics point to a different path that unfolded over time: legal disputes, public battles in courtrooms, high-profile media projects, a Netflix documentary that heavily criticized aspects of royal life, a memoir that exposed private family conversations and messages, and a globally watched Oprah interview. that intensified already strained relationships. Each step, as described by commentators, added more distance instead of repair. The focus shifted from institutional contribution to personal grievance, from long-term legacy building to public storytelling rooted in conflict. And now, in hindsight, people are saying that window he once talked about didn't just close quietly, it slammed shut with force. Then, another claim enters the picture that pushes things into even more sensitive territory, and it involves William directly. According to reports being discussed, Harry allegedly approached William at one point and asked if he could be involved in helping raise William's children, saying he didn't want them to experience the same struggles he went through growing up. That request, however, was reportedly shut down immediately. William's response was firm and final. "No, keep away. I don't want you anywhere near them." And in the context of everything happening, that reaction is being viewed by some as protective rather than purely emotional. Because from William and Catherine's perspective, this isn't just about family disagreements. It's about safeguarding their children's environment. They're raising future members of the monarchy, children being prepared for public life, responsibility and pressure, while also trying to keep their upbringing stable and grounded. There's also a strong emphasis on shielding them from negativity, misinterpretation, or emotional conflict that could follow them later in life. Even small comments or repeated narratives, as critics suggest, could have long-lasting effects on young minds growing up under global attention. Angela Levin also made a comparison that intensified discussion further. She suggested that Catherine has played a stabilizing role in William's life, helping him grow into what she described as a more grounded father, husband, and overall stronger figure within the family structure. In contrast, she claimed that Meghan's influence pushed Harry in a different emotional direction, amplifying frustrations and deepening existing wounds instead of calming them. That comparison has been widely debated, but it continues to circulate in commentary about how each brother's path diverged so sharply over time. Now Harry is being portrayed by critics as someone sitting in Montecito at 41, watching the next generation of royals grow into the spotlight, including Prince George, who is now stepping into public awareness with increasing attention and composure beyond his years. Observers note that George is beginning to appear more confident in public appearances, carrying himself with a calm presence that many associate with future responsibility. And as that visibility grows, comparisons have naturally followed, with some commentators drawing contrasts between the younger generation's composed image and Harry's current public role. But just when that narrative seemed like the biggest shift, another development surfaced that reignited tension again, this time involving Meghan and a recent online controversy that spread rapidly across social media. A popular account, known as the notorious JTB, often described as one of the more vocal Sussex supporters online, posted a video showing what he claimed was a large as-ever care package he received directly from Meghan herself. The package allegedly included honey, candles, decorative flower sprinkles, a leather bookmark, a limited edition matchbox, and a handwritten note on Meghan's personal stationery featuring her royal cipher. The estimated value of the gift was said to be over $300, and the recipient reacted publicly with excitement, calling it a surprising and emotional moment. However, the identity of JTB added a major layer of controversy to the situation. He is widely known online, not just as a supporter, but as someone who has repeatedly targeted Catherine in harsh commentary over time. His posts have included criticism of her public work, comparisons favoring Meghan, and even engagement with conspiracy-style claims surrounding Catherine's health, all of which have fueled ongoing online tension. That's why the situation escalated so quickly, because it wasn't just about a gift, it was about who received it and what they had been publicly associated with before. And adding another layer, the timing created even more questions. Just weeks earlier, Meghan had appeared at a global summit in Geneva discussing online harassment, speaking about toxicity, bullying, and the emotional impact of digital attacks especially during vulnerable moments in life. That contrast is what people are now focusing on heavily. On one side, public statements about combating online negativity, and on the other, a private gesture towards someone whose online activity has been heavily criticized for contributing to that same environment. Meghan has also previously stated in interviews that she avoids social media and does not engage deeply with online commentary, and that has led to even more debate, with observers questioning whether she is aware of who she is interacting with, or whether there is a disconnect between public messaging and private actions. Some commentators argue that this creates a complicated contradiction, while others insist it's being overinterpreted. Either way, it has intensified scrutiny around every move tied to the situation. And as this unfolds, analysts like Paula Froelich have described scenarios of what tension might look like if all parties were in the same room together, pointing to how quickly interactions could become emotionally charged, given the history involved. At the center of it all, William's stance is often framed as protective rather than reactive, because from his perspective, the priority is stability, boundaries, and shielding his family from further emotional strain, especially after years of public and private tension. And as more developments continue to surface, it's becoming clear that the distance between Harry and the rest of the family isn't narrowing, it's evolving into something even more fixed and difficult to reverse. What's unfolding this week makes it more obvious than ever that Harry's personal world is not just shifting slightly, it's breaking apart in ways that are becoming impossible to ignore, and every new detail is adding more weight to that picture. This week, Peter Phillips, Princess Anne's son and Harry's cousin, got married, and one of the biggest talking points wasn't the ceremony itself, but Harry's complete absence from it. He wasn't there, he wasn't invited, and there was no sign of him on the guest list at all. And that detail alone has stunned a lot of people watching this situation unfold. Because this wasn't a state event or some formal royal duty, this was a family wedding. The kind of gathering that, just a few years ago, would have automatically included Harry without question. A moment like this would have been part of the natural rhythm of royal family life. But now, it's become another symbol of distance and separation. And that's why it's hitting so hard for observers, because it's not just one event, it's what it represents. Sources suggest Harry is reportedly very affected by this, not only because he missed the wedding, but because of what it signals about his current standing within the wider family structure. Because when you zoom out, this isn't being described as a one-time exclusion. It's being framed as part of a growing pattern that seems to be accelerating rather than slowing down. Each event, each absence, each missed invitation is building into something bigger and more permanent. At the same time, the wider social world that once surrounded Harry and Meghan is also said to be shifting away. People who were once close, connected, or publicly supportive are now appearing in different spaces, aligned elsewhere, or simply less present in the Sussex orbit. Idris Elba, who once DJ'd at their wedding celebration, is now more closely associated with working royal circles. The Clooneys have been increasingly seen at palace-related events. The Beckhams made their alignment years ago after their own tensions. Even Jose Andres, who appeared on Meghan's With Love, Meghan, recently held a book launch that Harry attended alone, without Meghan by his side. That moment stood out because it highlighted the separation in public appearances. Harry was there physically, but without that shared presence that once defined how the couple was seen together. Meghan's absence from that event added to the growing narrative that their public lives are increasingly operating on separate tracks, at least in certain situations. People who once formed part of the broader Sussex social ecosystem are now, according to commentators, moving on or repositioning themselves elsewhere. And Harry is said to be aware of that shift, even if it's happening quietly behind the scenes. Then there's Frogmore Cottage, which adds another layer of symbolism to everything unfolding. The property, which reportedly had around £2.4 million in taxpayer-funded renovations, is now being restructured and divided into separate apartments for other members of the royal household. not preserved as a symbolic home waiting for return, not kept aside as a frozen connection point, but actively carved up and repurposed. That detail is being interpreted by some as a very clear institutional signal that the space and what it once represented for Harry is no longer being held open. If there was ever a message about permanence versus distance, this is being viewed as one of the clearest yet. And when you step back, the contrast becomes even sharper. Harry once sat in front of Oprah and described feeling trapped, saying he escaped and found freedom. That moment was presented as a turning point, a clean break from pressure and restriction. But now, the picture being described by critics looks very different. Instead of expansion and connection, it's being framed as increasing isolation and separation. Barefoot in Montecito, attending polo matches alone, appearing at events without Meghan, and often surrounded by a very small circle of longtime friends or professional connections rather than a wide social network. Even Nacho Figueras is often mentioned as one of the few consistent presences in his life, and while that friendship is genuine, commentators sometimes point to it as symbolic of how narrow his social world has become compared to earlier years. Inside Montecito, reports continue to suggest that life is becoming more compartmentalized. Harry appears at certain events solo, while Meghan focuses on separate engagements, projects, or commitments. There have also been claims from Hollywood insiders that there were long stretches where the couple wasn't publicly photographed together, including reports of nearly 3 months without a joint appearance at one point, which naturally fueled speculation. Financial pressure is also part of the conversation, with reports suggesting challenges around maintaining their current lifestyle after major deals like Spotify ended and Netflix output slowed compared to early expectations. Meghan's lifestyle brand and product launches have also received mixed reactions, with critics pointing to high-priced items that didn't gain strong traction in the wider market. All of this feeds into a broader narrative that the original Sussex model was built on a major gamble, the idea that stepping away from royal life would create a more powerful and influential independent platform. But critics argue that outcome hasn't fully materialized in the way it was expected to, leading instead to fragmentation and shifting public interest. At the same time, personal priorities are often described as pulling in different directions. Harry is portrayed as wanting familiarity, old friendships, polo culture, and ties to his earlier life. Meghan is portrayed as focusing more on Hollywood circles, brand development, and industry events. That difference in direction creates ongoing tension in how their shared path is understood by commentators. Even family perspectives reflect that divide. Harry has reportedly expressed interest in his children, having a relationship with their grandfather, and spending more time in the UK, while Meghan is said to view returning to Britain as emotionally difficult and tied to past experiences. Those differences have become part of the larger discussion about long-term alignment versus separation of priorities. Meanwhile, inside the royal institution, the divide continues as well. Reports suggest William maintains a firm stance on long-term boundaries, believing that once certain lines are crossed, reconciliation becomes extremely difficult. That position is sometimes described as influencing broader decisions around whether future contact between Harry and Charles should happen at all. Because of that dynamic, a potential meeting between Harry and Charles this summer is now being described as very unlikely, with uncertainty continuing to grow around it. At the same time, William is focused on the future direction of the monarchy, while Harry is often described as still emotionally connected to unresolved past events. And in the middle of it all, Catherine remains the one figure many commentators point to as someone who could have influenced a different outcome. But according to reports, she has made her decision clear and final. She has chosen her immediate family, her husband, and her children, stepping away from any role in mediation or bridge building. That decision is being viewed as firm, with no indication of reversal. Every bridge, every missed opportunity, every unresolved moment now sits as part of a story that has moved far beyond easy repair. And with that, the situation continues to evolve into something more fixed, more distant, and harder to reverse as time goes on. If you've been following this story, drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch the next videos on screen right now for more updates and breakdowns on everything unfolding in this royal situation.